All right. Hey, Richard, how's it going?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just want to thank you for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Okay, so first of all, I'll apologize for if there's a little bit of noise in the background. I'm in my facility here, and there's some construction going. But so my name is Richard Bucciarelli. I am a professional fitness coach, sports scientist, and I guess you can say also I'm a university researcher and lecturer as well. So I do a lot of things related to sports and sports science, and really specific to soccer. I run a business, a company called Speed Training. That's where I am here. I'm in my facility. So we provide fitness testing, training, and other coach education to athletes from soccer, but also in a wide variety of sports. And I mentioned also, I am a sports scientist. So I'm presently just finishing up my PhD in exercise science, biomechanics, and physiology at the University of Guelph. And I'm also a university professor part time at the University of Guelph Humber, and I do coach education as well. So I teach courses for Canada Soccer, Ontario Soccer, and the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada. So I'm kind of involved in soccer and in sports science in many different ways, and that's a good summary, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where are you right now? Are you in Canada?
I'm in Canada, yeah. So my facility is in Woodbridge,
Okay, nice.
and Woodbridge is, it's Vaughan, so we'll say just a little bit north of Toronto.
So you're really well connected over in Woodbridge.
Yeah. I mean, I've lived here now for, I guess, about 6 or 7 years. I didn't grow up here. I grew up actually, in North York, kind of closer, I guess, maybe the border between North York and Scarborough. So I'm more from the city. But I mean, I've through coaching and the work that I've done, I've kind of worked all over the GTA, and definitely, being here now, have a lot of connections here as well.
Okay, cool. So I just put together these new questions. It's like six fun questions. So we're gonna start with
Sure.
what's your favorite team?
We're talking club.
Yeah, yeah, football club. Who's your
Okay.
favorite
So
team?
for sure, for sure, my favorite club team is AC Milan.
Okay.
And I
Oh,
can I can tell you why. When I was a kid in the late 1980s, this is when I first, I was born in 1981, so I first kind of started watching soccer in the late 80s. And at that time, AC Milan had the best team in the world. They had some really good defensive players that I was a defender, and so I really loved players like Baresi, and then eventually Maldini is another one, and then they had some great Dutch players, international players, and just growing up through the years, I just always supported them, and still do.
nice. And where are you from? Are you Italian?
So my family is Italian. I was born here in Canada, but both my parents were born in Italy. So we had a little bit of that background and introduction to the game through my parents and grandparents.
Nice. And have you ever been to
Yeah.
Italy?
I've been a few times. Yeah, love to go back. Actually, at this point in my career, I would love to at some point maybe get an opportunity to go back there to coach,
Okay, cool.
because the only times I've been there has just been for traveling. So,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I used to play back at Woodbridge. Since you mentioned Woodbridge, I used to play for Woodbridge Strikers under
Mhm.
Coach Marco
Yeah,
Ciampa. So I played with a lot of
I know him. Yeah, for
Italians.
sure.
Yeah, you know him, yeah, for sure. So you know like Jordan Peruzza, Rocco Romeo, all those guys then that are playing for Toronto FC. Like,
Yeah, yeah. There's quite a few of them. Yeah, they've trained with me, or I would have worked with them when they were at the TFC Academy as well. So yeah, yeah.
okay, for sure, cool. And I've seen your
Yeah.
platform on Instagram. You were training. I don't remember his last name, but Matthew. He's playing for Rowdies right now.
Serble, yeah, Matt Serble, yeah. So
Okay,
he was. I mean, I have an interesting connection to him because he was at the TFC Academy when I was the strength and conditioning coach there,
yeah.
and well, I'll just give you a brief story. So he was a lot smaller. He was a late developer,
Mm,
and when I got into the academy, one of the things that I did was, we started to just to conduct some tests on the players to determine their developmental age. So this is, maybe you've heard the term bio banding, or it was kind of becoming popular in Europe. We're talking now, this is 2012, 2013, almost 10 years ago, starting to become popular in Europe, but wasn't being done yet in Canada. And so in any case, when we did these tests in the age group that Matt Serbal was in, he was almost 3 years developmentally behind the average for that team. So he was a good player. He was talented, but physically, and it wasn't that he wasn't fit. He was actually very fit, but he was just physically, smaller and underdeveloped. So instead of, I think maybe they were thinking of cutting him. I don't know, but he was struggling a bit. So instead of releasing him, once we had this information, then I was able to kind of motivate, I'll say, the coaches to keep him, but to put him down a year.
Right.
And I guess within about a year and a half or so, physically he caught up. He ended up becoming like a very good player at the academy. Maybe you've seen. I mean, he was a starter in the USL for a couple of seasons, and probably one of their better players on TFC2 consistently. And even he won even USL Player of the Week a few times.
Nice.
And then eventually, he got. I mean, I guess before COVID, he was in Denmark. He was on loan with a club there. And then we got him in shape and got him ready, here to try out with Tampa Bay. And I'll tell you just the other connection that I have to him is his father is my PhD thesis advisor.
Wow.
His father is a biomechanics professor at the University of Guelph. So yeah, he's the one that kind of convinced me to go back to school. And then as I said, I ended up continuing to work with his son later on. So
yeah, that's a great connection right there. And just a long story short. I just met Matt this year, right? We were playing soccer for fun, like a whole bunch of us, like guys from the CPL, MLS, and guys from college or university. We were playing at a school called Marcelina's. That's how I met Matt. I met him like 2 times. Then I came to Florida because I'm with Naples United FC right now. And Enoch showed me he's the chairman for Naples United. He organized a friendly game with Tampa Bay Rowdies, and I seen Matt. I'm like, this is a small world. I'm like, what's going on here? So
it's crazy.
Yeah, even the connections that the people that I know them too as well. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, so next question.
We live in a small world here for sure.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so who's your favorite player?
That's a tough one. I mean, overall, if I had to choose one, I just loved Gennaro Gattuso. A lot of this has to do, like I played in university, and I think I played for Coach Bassam, who at York, and I played for a few years in the CPSL while I was there. And so anyway, around that time, we're talking like the early 2000s. That's when I was in school. That was when Gattuso was with Milan, which was my favorite team, and I just I kind of noticed him. Maybe, I don't remember, it might have been 1999, 2000 was when I just noticed, like you could just see he was not one of the most skilled players. He was clearly in good shape, but he had a lot of passion when he played. He was very physical. He was a leader. I really loved watching him play, and more or less, I certainly wasn't that good at all, but I tried to maybe model myself a little bit after him as a player. I was always in decent shape, and I was a hardworking player and stuff. So I would say I tried to be like him, as much as I could. And so he would be, if I had to choose one, he'd be my one favorite player.
Okay, cool. What are your favorite pairs of boots or cleats?
Well, so I've got like super wide feet. So back when I was like in high school and a little younger, Copa Mundial was the shoe in the 90s. Like everybody wanted it, and I bought them, because that's what everybody had. But I come to learn later, the Copa Mundial is very narrow. So I would buy them and I would wear them for a few months, and then all of a sudden, my foot would start to spill out the sides and it would rip. So in any case, I guess after a couple of years of being frustrated with that, I went to, as a matter of fact, went to John's store, Metro Sport, in North York, and looked at the different shoes, and it turned out that Lotto, an Italian company, Lotto happened to make just a really nice kangaroo leather shoe that was much wider.
Yep.
And it was stitched really strong around the bottom, and I didn't talk to John at the time, but whoever it was at the store, I don't remember, but I explained my problem. I would have been around 10th grade at this time. Mm-hmm. And I said, I need something that's not going to rip, and anyway, Lotto made this really nice shoe. So that was the shoe, and I guess another cool thing about Lotto was that they had like any color, so you could get them blue or red or white, or and I played with a club called North York Azzurri, which was blue, like Italian national team colors. So I bought the blue ones, and then I wore those for a few years, and then when I got to York University, and our shirts were red and white, so I got another pair of white ones, to match. So anyway, that was my thing. It was just a lotto. I don't even know the name of the shoe, but I kind of stayed loyal to them. So
Do you does John still have that store that you mentioned?
so not the one in North York. I believe at one point when business was doing a bit better, I guess for him, that they had 3 locations. They had North York, Mississauga, and then there's the one kind of Scarborough, like in the east end of the city. That's the one that he still has there, which is it's like at Warden and 401 area. So he still has that one, but the other 2, I guess they must have closed them up.
What's the name of the store again?
Metro Sport.
Metro Sports. Okay, cool. So what's your?
And I think they go by the soccer store right now.
Okay, I'm gonna type it in. I'll look at it. So.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the 4th one would be, what's the most memorable soccer moment that you've had in your career?
Is this playing or coaching, or anything?
Both.
Well, okay, I guess playing. As I said, I played for York, and in my very first year there, we had a pretty good team. We ended up getting to the OUA semifinal, and in the Canadian university system, the semifinal is a big game, because if you win it in Ontario, then you qualify for the national championships, because the top 2 teams go. So in any case, we got there, and we lost to Wilfrid Laurier, who was the best team in the country at that time. And Wilfrid Laurier ended up going on to win a national championship that year. And they won another one the next year. I remember this. So this was 2000 and 2001. So Wilfrid Laurier, by 2002, they were, back-to-back national champions.
Yeah.
And in 2002, with York, we ended up coming up against them in the quarterfinal, OUA. And, they were, as I said, they were 2-time national champions. I believe at their own field, they were undefeated maybe for that whole 2 years, I think. So it was kind of a big playoff game, and we were underdogs, and we beat them. So, that was kind of a big win. Probably in university, I would say it's the biggest win that I've ever been a part of. That win took us into the Final Four again, and we lost again. And believe it or not, we lost to Carleton University. Not Carleton, I'm sorry. We lost to Brock. From St. Catharines. And in 2002, Brock also went on to win the whole national championship. So, I was part of a couple of decent teams that lost to the national champions, and that that win was kind of a big one, because we beat that team that was, as I said, that was undefeated and was a 2-time national championship team. So I was proud of that win. That's as a player. Now, as a coach, so I mentioned that I was the fitness coach with the women's under-17 national team. And so the cycle that I worked with, pardon me?
No, I said yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, maybe there's a bit of a delay. So anyway, so the cycle that I worked with was the players getting ready for it was the 2012 Women's Under-17 World Cup, which was held in Azerbaijan. In a city called Baku. So it's an amazing country, and I'd never been there. I don't think anybody from the team had ever been there. So in any case, we qualified. We finished second. We lost to the United States in the final of the CONCACAF Championship. In a game we could have probably won, but anyway, we lost that one. But we qualified. So the opening match of the tournament was our team against Nigeria, and right after we had to play, there was a Jennifer Lopez concert scheduled in the stadium. So this is in Baku, the capital city of Azerbaijan, and they had this beautiful stadium which was built for the tournament. So anyway, we had to play. Then there was a J-Lo concert, and then Azerbaijan had their opening match right after us. So all that is to say that with a group of coaches and 16-year-old girls who none of us had really ever experienced being in a match with a crowd maybe more than about 1,000 people, probably because of the J-Lo concert and everything. In any case, by halftime at this game, there was about 35,000 people in the stadium, And I mean, I've been around the world as a fan. I've been to some stadiums and been to big games where there's lots of people, but I'd never experienced that as a coach before. And yeah, it was just something that like I'll always remember. I mean, we took the lead in the game, and then very close to the end, Nigeria had a corner kick. I was warming up some players very close to where the corner kick was being taken. Kind of just behind the goal line. And it was so loud that, like, for me to speak to players that were warming up, I actually had to go right close to them and shout in their ear because they couldn't hear me if I was farther back than that. So anyway, they took the corner kick and the ball bounced around the box a bit. Anyway, they scored. This was maybe like the 85th minute or something. It was towards the end of the game. And, just the crowd was going nuts. There was a bunch of Nigerian fans in the crowd beating drums and things. And the players got down on their knees and started, like, praying. Like, it was just talking about it still gives me goosebumps. It was such an amazing experience. And I've had, I've then in my career been with some professional clubs and other, I've been to other big games since then. But I would say honestly, so far nothing has compared to that. And also that experience was something that really just, I guess it made me want to experience it again. So I could almost say it made me like an addict, like that. I had to, be involved in these, with top level teams, and I still want to, and I still and kind of pushing for that in my career. And so anyway, that's definitely the most memorable experience as a coach. So we tied that game. So.
I think that would be an interesting question to ask. Do you have a plan set into place on how you want to maneuver and do that, or is it just something that you want to do again?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, I guess to make a long story short, I would say, when I finished my undergraduate degree, at the time I was, obviously I was studying sports science, working a bit as a personal trainer. I was coaching soccer, and I was also just doing fitness training for soccer players. I had been doing it all part-time while I was in school. And by the time I graduated, when you have a kinesiology degree, you don't necessarily have a direct career path that you go on. There's many different, options you have.
Yeah.
And since I had this little small business that was kind of growing, I figured, well, okay, why don't I just do it full time? And I'll call my company Soccer Fitness. And so this was, we're talking over 15 years ago now. So at that time, I guess I didn't realize it really, but more or less, I just figured, like, since this is what I'm going to do, I want to be the best at it. And so I kind of just came up with these categories that are related to this career. And in each category, I said, okay, well, what do I need to do to be the best or excel in each of these categories? One of those categories was my education. So that's one thing that, I said, okay, eventually I want to have a master's degree and a PhD and a national A license in coaching. So that was one. And then another one was, to own my own facility, because I didn't just want to be traveling from field to field. And so that was, the facility and the business side of it. And then I said, okay, well, I don't just want to be, a sports scientist and trainer, but I also want to, teach. And so eventually that led me down the road to doing coach education. And after coach education to, again, kind of, lecturing and teaching in college and university and so on. So I kind of created all these buckets for myself. And one of the buckets was that I figured, to be the best, you have to work at the highest levels. So that started with me in Canada. Well, okay, so what are the high levels in Canada? There's university, there's the provincial program, there's, the national team and the professional. So I always had an ambition, even from, again, we're talking back in 2004, 2005, to work at those levels. So I made it happen. I mean, I started volunteering with different university teams, including York, where I had been a player, where I had some connections. Eventually got, through a colleague of mine, got an offer, an opportunity to work with the women's national team, as I mentioned. After that, another colleague of mine gave me an opportunity to come in and work with Toronto FC, with their academy. And it kind of just went on from there. And, I've had some other, I've worked, I went to South America for a year, worked with a professional club in Uruguay, and worked with, the Ottawa Fury and the USL, and I mentioned the Pan Am Games and stuff. So like that bucket of working at the higher level, that was always something that I had in my sights, even when I was just starting out as a coach. Yeah.
Nice. And did you have all those experiences before opening up your own facility, starting?
So, well, it's interesting that everything kind of happened at once. Yeah, I mean, I opened one facility with a business partner in 2006. It was very, very soon after I graduated. It was a small place, and but the big facility where I kind of got it maybe a little more well known for was the soccer fitness training center. I had some very unique equipment, which I still have here. High speed and high incline treadmills and resisted treadmills, and this is equipment that I actually have ended up using for my my master's and PhD research as well. So anyway, that facility with that equipment, I opened in January of 2011. At that time, I had been working with York University. I'd been there for a few years and actually been part of some successful teams there as an assistant coach, men's and women's. And within less than a year, by the summer of that year, I was offered the job as fitness coach with the women's under-17 national team. And so like in the same year that I opened that business, where I think most smart, sane people would have just focused on business. I decided to do both, and it just was an opportunity I couldn't turn down.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so everything kind of happened at once. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. It turned out amazingly well, and
I think so. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you something. Oh, okay, yeah. So, for the viewers watching right now that are in Canada, can you let them know where your facility is at, and and any Instagram pages that you guys have?
Sure. Yeah. So our facility, we rebranded to Speed Training. Maybe you can see my shirt there. So because we branched out into working with soccer, but lots of other sports as well. So Speed Training, our facility is the Speed Training Lab and High Performance Center, and we're located at 8301 Keele, which is on Keele Street, just north of Highway 7. So it's sort of on the south side or south end of Woodbridge. So that's our facility. Our website is speedtraining.ca, www.speedtraining.ca. And I mean, I've got a few Instagram accounts. So I guess one of them is Soccer Fitness Inc. So at Soccer Fitness Inc. And then our Speed Training Instagram account is at speedtraining.ca. So speedtraining.ca.
Yeah, guys, check them out. Go follow them. Check out the website. So, and I actually really want to come out to the facility myself if I ever come back to Canada. Who knows?
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is going way back in time. We're still on the fun questions. Did you ever play soccer in the house when you were a kid?
All the time. I guess I'll tell you, I had a twin brother who happened to be a goalkeeper. So I'm lucky, that I'm surprised maybe that I wasn't a better shooter or free kick taker, because I had most kids would probably dream to have a brother or sister that that can go and goal all the time. But anyway, so we did kick around in the house all the time. We did have like these soft kind of Nerf balls and stuff. So, and I don't know if that was just. I don't remember really having like a full pumped up size 4 or size 5 ball as a kid in the house. So that was probably not allowed. But we had these soft balls, and I kicked them against cardboard boxes and dribbled around, the kitchen table. I mean, I have lots of memories of that. So and knocking things over and stuff. So yeah.
Stuff breaking all over the place.
Yeah, it happened even with the softball. So the softball is it doesn't prevent that. So.
Okay, cool. I remember I had like a full on ball and everything. Oh man.
Yeah.
This is the last one. I think this is like probably one of the juicier ones too. Tell me if you like it or not. But who do you think is better, Messi or Ronaldo?
Well, they're both great players. Yeah.
Words, yeah.
They're both great players. I honestly kind of think it comes down to like just personal preference, because you could easily make an argument for either one. They've won everything. Obviously Messi hasn't yet won a senior international tournament. Who knows if he will? Ronaldo has won the Euro, but they've won the Champions League. They've won all the scoring titles and Player of the Year. I think they have 5 each, don't they? Player of the Year, or right? Ballon d'Or.
Not too sure. I don't want to say.
I think they have 5 each. Yeah, and I mean, so in terms of accolades and stuff, I know they're up there. But personally, I just like Messi better. I, I and maybe it's just I just the way that he dribbles and just the fact that the moment that he gets the ball, he just attracts this swarm of defenders, and he always goes through them. Like it's just a personal preference that I kind of just enjoy watching him play more. But they each have their advantages and disadvantages. I guess Ronaldo maybe is a more complete player. He's better in the air and physically stronger, faster, that kind of thing. But I just prefer Messi for the way that he plays. So, but I think you could easily make the argument for either one. Yeah.
All right, so I'm here on your LinkedIn page. I'm looking at education. So as mentioned before, you already said all these things, but you went to York University, American Public University, University of Guelph, these three different schools. So what would you say the importance of university? What's the importance of going to university?
So university is where you get your education. I mean, you don't need to. I mean, you can certainly learn a lot of things on your own. Or you can go to college. You can get into more of a practical program. I would say that the thing about going to a college or university and obtaining a degree and then even maybe continuing with it like I did, I think there's a few reasons that people do it, and I would put myself in that category. So the first thing is that if you were to look at two people that are competing for a job, let's say, one of them has a university degree and one of them doesn't. One of the reasons why the university degree or the person with the university degree is maybe more likely to get the job is because by earning that degree, it is a demonstration to future employers that you're capable of, managing your time for 4 or 5 years, going to class, putting in enough effort in to study in order to pass and get good grades and all those things. It doesn't mean that if you don't have that, you're not capable of it, but it's having the degree is a symbol, it's a record of that. And then that's something that, again, can attract future employers. So that's something. And then I guess, the other real, the importance, because I know you asked me the importance. So really the importance of attending college or university is you're going to learn. And as I said, you don't need to attend school to learn, but attending school forces you to learn. It puts you in an environment where, okay, there's books and papers and other things that you have to read. You have to, you have to complete assignments, and to complete those assignments, you have to, again, you have to learn certain topics. You have to write papers. You have to, like in our course, there was a lot of science courses, so you have to. There's labs, there's experiments you conduct. So you learn more or less in an environment where you're kind of forced to, and it's not necessarily that you're being forced in a negative way, but it's something that I think maybe if everybody, if nobody went to university and everybody just tried to learn things on their own, maybe a lot of people could, but then you'd have some others maybe that didn't. So I would say that I guess, the long answer to a short question, the importance of university, one is because it by obtaining a degree, you do attach some kind of a standard to your name, some standard of credibility. Not the be all and all, but there is that credibility there. And as I said, it's one of the reasons why I did it, and also why I've continued. I definitely wanted to add that credibility and to make me competitive with, again, as I said, I'm still very ambitious about, in my career, about getting back into higher levels in soccer and possibly other teaching positions and things, and to have a PhD and kind of attain that higher level of education, it makes you competitive. So that's one. And then the second thing, and I have to say this 100% applies to me, is that if you want to learn and you're passionate about learning about a particular subject, then it's a great way to do that. And then, as I said, this truly, it does apply to me that one of the main reasons that I did decide to go back to school, was convinced by Dr. John Serbel to go back, was because I mean, there were some things that I really wanted to learn more about and to conduct research and investigate into. So that's it.
Yeah, that was great insight. Really great insight, Richard. So you've coached not coached. Wait, coached and trained, or just trained at? You're the trainer for TFC and Ottawa Fury for those two top clubs. Trainer.
So yeah, my work there was as a fitness coach. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's give some insight into what's the criteria? What do players need to know that are amateur players right now that want to be in that environment, that want to play for that team in the USL, in the MLS? What standards do these players have to meet physically, mentally?
Good question. And I'll just add to that I like to use the word fitness coach, and a lot of times I just say coach, and I'll say that I think it's an interesting thing that I've done education and I've been to Europe a lot, and I've done education and also lived and worked in South America, and in those environments in professional soccer, the fitness coach is part of the coaching staff, whereas traditionally in North America, as a matter of fact, usually you're not even called a fitness coach. You're called a strength coach or a strength and conditioning coach, and you're kind of stuck in the weight room. And not that I don't like the weight room; it's great, but I think that there is this tendency maybe to pigeonhole us and our profession. I prefer much more to be in an environment where I am part of the coaching staff, and I'll say that not at as much at Toronto FC, but definitely with the Ottawa Fury through the coaching staff that they had, it was definitely like that, and that's what I prefer. But in any case, that's just kind of a comment on what you said about coaching, because I thought it's interesting to just to kind of clarify that. But so what do players need at those levels? Yeah. So, I mean, physically, I would say, first of all, that there's always going to be an advantage to being faster and more explosive. Now, unfortunately, those qualities, you can train for them. I mean, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I have a company called Speed Training, and we do we make people faster, and I've published research, demonstrating this, and it can be done. But speed is mostly genetic. And the reason I say that's unfortunate is that no matter what, with training, you can only make small improvements in speed, whereas just the differences in speed in a team between the fastest and the slow, or the faster players and the slower ones, is much greater. So it's never really going to be possible for the slowest player in a team to become faster than the fastest one just through training. But of course, you can still try to train to optimize it. So there are thresholds definitely for speed and explosiveness. The faster you are, the better. There's also a very high demand on the aerobic system. So maybe you've heard of like the yo-yo test, for example.
I've heard of it.
So these are the players hate these tests, and yeah. So in any case, soccer, like any other sport, there's kind of an interplay between intermittent high intensity exercise, so fast running and sprinting, and then rest, and then you sprint again. So you sprint, you rest, you sprint again, and you kind of keep doing that. Like in soccer, you do it for 45 minutes, then you get a break at halftime, and you do it again. So in any case, it's the aerobic system that helps you to recover in between those periods of sprinting. So if your aerobic system is weak, what starts to happen is from one run to the next, you just don't recover as well, and then you start to slow down. And so you will see this if a player is not fit and untrained, you'll see it right away. You'll also see it if you take players that go from a particular, let's say the club environment, or like amateur club here, and then they get into, a USL club. Oftentimes, if they haven't done a lot of hard training before, they're not quite ready for that jump up. So again, amateur club, maybe you're training 4 or 5 days a week, but the intensity isn't very high. You're competing against boys that are your own age, so the physical challenges aren't as much. Then let's say you go into the USL, and this happened with Ottawa. We had some kids that were 17, 18, and coming from different academies and clubs and whatever. All of a sudden now you're playing against full-grown men. They may be 20 pounds heavier than you. They may be a lot stronger than you. They're more experienced. So in any case, you'll notice very quickly the players that are not aerobically fit, because they just won't be able to recover, and they won't be able to keep up. And then, again, I mentioned kind of strength, and, there's a component of strength and power and all those things. So it's pretty well known what the standards are physically. I provide coach education. I got lots of stuff even on my YouTube channel and stuff that gets into that in more detail. But there's a threshold for endurance. There's a threshold for speed. There's a threshold for strength, and you need to train to keep all of those qualities up. Something that I will speak of just which I definitely became aware of from all the work that I did at the higher levels. And then when I would compare, and I would definitely include Uruguay in there, because that's probably the one. I mean, it's the highest level that I worked at, because it's actually a true professional league that has promotion and relegation. We don't have that in North America, and that's a problem. So in any case, something that I became aware of, and really a key difference between professionals at the higher levels and other players who don't get there, is their mentality. And I would kind of group a lot of different things into that category, but I would say things like work ethic, the ability to sacrifice and the willingness to sacrifice, not wanting to hang out with your friends or your girlfriend, boyfriend as much, not being willing to sacrifice, partying and, drinking and all that kind of stuff, staying out late, not always being able to eat the foods that you want to eat all the time. You have to watch what you eat. You have to make sure you get enough carbohydrates and water and vegetables, so all of that, I would maybe, it's part of your mentality. And again, like by the time I got to Uruguay, and I saw that basically, we would start training at 9 a.m., which means players would start arriving for, physio and other stuff at around 7:30. Some of them had almost an hour commute, which means they have to leave their house by 6:30, 6 o'clock. They're getting up at 5. And these are, young men, 18, 19 up. Some of them are almost 30 years old. They're in bed by 9:30 every night of the week. And that's a strict schedule. And, so that requires a certain, amount, as I said, of discipline, of work ethic, of commitment. And then I guess the other side of it is, this all ties into mentality as well, but not, well, how do I put this? I would say not being as cocky, and not having, I would say, maybe unrealistic self-confidence and an unrealistic opinion of yourself as a player. I think sometimes here in Toronto and in Canada, very talented players get treated like they're special from a very young age. And they may be talented, but really, 14, 15, at the age when you come into maybe a TFC academy or something like that, the truth is you really haven't achieved anything in the game at that age. And so if you're always treated like you're special or like you're a superstar, then you don't, you're a little bit too entitled. You're a little bit too, you lack a little bit of that determination and work ethic and humility. And then when these top players then end up, let's say, becoming professionals, and especially if they go overseas, if they go to Europe or South America, and I've seen it, again, the club I worked with had a few Canadians there, then they experience competing against players who are better than them technically, just as fit, like they have all the same tools, but they work much harder and they're much more willing to sacrifice. And, they don't mind playing for almost no money at all, because they see it as an opportunity and a stepping stone. And so I guess, I think, like, again, mentality to me, like, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But, part of it is, the work ethic, the willingness to sacrifice and all that. And the other, I guess the best word, I was trying to find the word humility. Humility, I think, is a good word. Until you've really earned something, you've signed your first pro contract, you've won a championship, until you've earned it, you have to be humble, because the game will make you humble anyway. So,
of course, yeah.
So
for sure,
yeah.
Those are great points. So now with work experience, you have a lot of work experience. So would you say, and one thing I do want to mention is that everything here, they all align to your main not action, to the main thing that you're doing. Like, everything aligns. It's not like you're doing things outside of the game. It's all aligned with soccer. It's all soccer related. It's all fitness training related. So
yeah,
when you were doing all these things, did you want it to be connected? Was it done purposely? Were you aware of what you were doing, or was it just something being done?
was definitely done purposely. Yeah. I think if you recall, I mentioned sort of like at a young age, I kind of came up with these, like, these categories, these buckets. And my idea was that in order to be, and again, it's not to sound cocky, because this was, I wanted to be considered one of the best at the time. I was just starting. I didn't think of myself as anything. I just thought of myself as a guy who was an ambitious coach, and I had some playing experience and all that. But I figured, okay, so I've chosen this career. I want to be the best at it. Then these are all the things that I need to excel in. But again, I knew at some point I was going to have to start publishing research. I knew at some point I was going to have open a facility and run a business. And I knew I wanted to teach and again at work at the high level and all those things. So it was definitely by design. And I guess at this point in my career, there are lots of opportunities that come up, and they're great. And I'm still looking for maybe some more. Once COVID dies down and I can finally finish this PhD and all that. There's other things that I'd like to do, and maybe now, again, I'm a little older and more experienced now, I can be a little more picky about what I choose to do and what I don't. But yeah, it's definitely by design and planned from a long time ago. So
nice. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So, okay, can you give us 3 tips that will guide aspiring soccer players to becoming professional soccer players into the future? Like, you've shared great points with discipline, sacrifice. So, like, out of the things that were already mentioned, what would be 3 main ones that you would say to, like, focus on, to work towards now, and then you could move on to other ones?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I always like, and I guess this comes from the serenity prayer about having the serenity to accept things in your life that you cannot change, and the courage to change the things that you can. So as an athlete, you have to focus on the things that are under your control. And so, I mean, I'm a fitness coach. I'm a sports scientist. So number one, fitness is absolutely under your control. There's no excuse if you're an aspiring player and you want to play at whatever level it is. You're in high school, you want to go into a university team. You're a young teenager. You're getting ready for a trial in Europe or whatever, right? There's no excuse to go there out of shape. Okay, as I said, speed is genetic. You might not be the fastest no matter what you do, but there's no excuse to go there out of shape. So that's easy. Okay, I mean, it's not easy to do. It requires a lot of hard work, but it's not complicated. It's simple. Okay, that's one. 2, I would say, eliminate distractions. And again, this kind of goes back to, I believe I sort of touched on it before about the players who live and train like professionals. Those are the ones that end up staying healthy. Those are the ones that become much more consistent in the way that they play. And you don't always realize it right away, but if you are distracted, and that means even from your day-to-day routine, you're not getting enough sleep, then that actually has physical effects. And also, if your life is kind of chaotic, and I mean, there's lots of ways. It could be, as I said, boyfriend, girlfriend. Could be, you're struggling in school. You're not dealing with whatever time management issues, whatever it is, right? If your life is more chaotic on the field, what happens is, and I'll tell you, Rafael Carvajal, the head coach of the club I worked with in Uruguay, who's a Canadian Uruguayan, and I learned so much from him. And he said to me that really the difference between, in the professional environment, the difference between the players that are starting and playing all the time and the ones that are on the bench and kind of struggling is that the ones that are starting and playing all the time make less mistakes. And it's not because they don't make mistakes, they do. But when they make a mistake, a top player, they're better at not making a second mistake. They're better at recovering from the mistakes that they make. And I believe that ability to recover better from mistakes that you make has to do with eliminating distractions in your life. So improve your fitness, eliminate distractions. And a third one, and this, I'll tell you, this is straight from Rafael Carvajal too. I can't even take credit for this, but this is simple too. Get an agent.
Why?
Get an agent. Because it's I don't want to say dirty. it's a tough game. Professional soccer is a tough game, especially if you're looking to go, outside of North America. There's, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young boys and girls now. I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of young people you're competing with from all over the world. A lot of them, as I said, they would play for nothing, and some of them do play for nothing. And the agents and the people that are negotiating this stuff, it's a tough game, and it's a tough business. And so if you get in trouble, you get a lawyer, because you don't want to advocate on your own behalf. If you get sick, you see a doctor. You don't cure yourself. And if you're an aspiring player and you want to become a professional, you get professional help. So I don't know, those three good ones. Those are good. So
those were three strong.
Focus on your aerobic fitness, eliminate distractions, and get an agent. There you go.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly mention. Did you see the book on LinkedIn? The book that I wrote.
So I saw it, but I'd like to get it and read it. So yeah. I haven't had a chance yet, but I will.
Oh, okay, for sure. I'll send you.
Do you speak about some of this stuff in your book, or?
Yes. Yeah. So as mentioned, you talked about getting an agent. You talked about sacrifice, discipline. These are all things that I do mention in the book. Now, something I want to go back towards in this conversation, which was very key and important, was the aspect of having skin in the game, right? Like having that track record, having that history, having that, you've been playing the game at a certain level for a certain amount of time, and this is what you've done, right? So yeah, so just to quickly mention right now, I'm at that stage right now where I'm pushing to like get on that ladder, so then we can have that like full credibility, have that skin in the game, the history, the track record, and all. So that's what's being worked on right now. So I mean, I like that you mentioned that. Those were good points. I just wanted to quickly add that in there. Now, with the works that you do with speech, what's your main focus right now? What's your main focus?
Well, my wife will probably tell you that I have too many focuses. So I mean, it's interesting. Like we moved into a bigger location last year, and the opportunity to move, like I'm talking, we had our fitness center in one location, and we moved to another one, which was about 30% bigger, more space, and more rent and all that. So and that opportunity only came up because of COVID. So there's actually a real positive that came from COVID. But I don't know if you know what's happening here in Canada, but we've been locked down. I think for the past 16 months, we've been locked down, almost 12 of them. So we're surviving, but we're also trying to build. And right now, we're actually not only building our business here, but we've just signed a lease now to open up a physiotherapy clinic upstairs. So we're building and growing, and also, as I said, literally just surviving and weathering the storm from COVID. So there's a lot of my energy going into that. As I said, I'm finishing my PhD. That was also affected by COVID. I won't get into the details, but basically, I had to change my thesis because I wasn't able to complete my research as it was before. So it was very frustrating and time consuming and all that. So I'm a lot of focus on that. And then I am, again, because I've started now for the last few years, I'm teaching first at the college level and now at the university level, and I have even, my own coach education courses. So there's quite a lot of energy and focus that goes into that too. Plans to work at the higher level or anything, I've put that on hold for now. I still would like to do it in the future, but it's just not exactly, realistic right now. But I would say I'm kind of dividing my focus among those three things. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what I'm doing.
Focused multitasking right there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
With the PDA, what is it? PhD? Yeah. Are you excited about
PhD?
That? PhD. Yeah. Are you excited about it?
I'm excited. Yeah. It's been a long journey. It's very, very frustrating at times. You do, I guess you take 2 steps backward just to take 1 step forward a lot of times. Every step of the way, I was told by my advisor and some other friends and colleagues, like, so for example, when you start your PhD, typically you have coursework. And when I was in the coursework, it was the hardest courses I'd ever taken in my life. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and and he said, "Oh, he says, well, yeah, that's okay, that's hard, but that's the easiest part, because then after that, then you have your comprehensive exams, and that's harder." And at the time, I was like, nothing can be harder than this. So anyway, I finished my coursework, passed the courses, everything. Then I'm studying for the exams, and he was absolutely right, because the studying, like, it was just, I had a stack of 60 papers that I had to read over a 10-week period and take notes. And I mean, I sometimes I show people, like, I still have a blister on my finger. It's permanent now from the note taking that I took. This was 3 years ago now, and it's still there. So anyway, so I studied, and at that for sure, that was the hardest studying, hardest preparation for an exam I had ever done. And I thought, like, again, I actually talked to the same guy, the same friend of mine, and he says, "Oh, well, the comprehensive exams, that's the easy part. Wait till you start your research." And I was like, nothing can be harder than this. Anyway, I took the exams, passed the exams in 2019, and then I started organizing my research, and he was absolutely right. Again, like, just between learning how to use all the equipment and scheduling, you got to go through ethics. There's a ethics board that needs to approve what you're doing. I mean, I set up this big project with 2 different universities, 4 different teams. Anyway, I had to travel to train them and test them and collect data. And anyway, at the end of all of that was when COVID hit. So now, I'm getting into the writing, and I would say, honestly, if I look back, like, yeah, the coursework was easier than the exams. The exams were easier than the conducting the research, and the research was easier than the writing that I'm doing now. So is it exciting? Yes. I mean, I've learned a ton. I know that it's made me a better coach. It's made me a better, better teacher, for sure. I think it's even made me better even in my business, because I'm able to communicate better. And going back to what we said about education, and that's something that people shouldn't take for granted when they're considering going to university and considering continuing, like, with a master's or whatever, that it isn't necessarily just the letters beside your name, and it's the fact that the improvements in knowledge and communication, in your ability to articulate what you're trying to say, to get your point across to other people, the connections you make. Like, in any case, I'm going off topic, but there's a lot of value there, which is exciting, and I'm very happy about it. But I'm also kind of ready to get done with it now. So I'm hoping that on the path that I'm on now, I believe I can finish with it within the year, and I would really like to. So
Yeah, that's exciting
I'd like
stuff.
to. I don't want to say get it over with, but more or less, I'd like to get it over with.
That's exciting. I had a question about the
Yeah,
facility. How much, if you don't mind me asking, how much square feet is the facility?
sure. Yeah, it's about 2,000 square feet. It's a rectangle, and I mean, I could even move the camera if you want. You want to have a look?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be amazing.
Here, I'm sitting in the office now, so you can see there's a squat cage there. There's the water cooler. You can see some treadmills along the wall. Up there, there's our other treadmill in the corner. Some dumbbells and free weights. There's our manager up there. He's there because we can't make noise down here. So so there it is.
So with the physio that you guys are building upstairs, that's really smart. Is that through you, or are you guys doing a partnership?
Well, no, we. I mean, it's basically my business, my company, and we together with myself, with my wife is also an employee of the company, and our manager there, his name is RV. So between the three of us, we'd been talking about it for a while, even pre-COVID. We've been talking about how we wanted to do that, to add a physiotherapy clinic. It didn't happen at the old location, but the opportunity came up here. So we're doing it ourselves through our business. We've hired a physiotherapist. But attention of our own business.
Okay, cool.
And I'll say that one of the real, I guess, like, driving forces behind us wanting to do that, and me and us wanting to do it, because I've wanted to do it for a long time too, is that I prefer working with athletes in a more holistic way. So you work with them when they're healthy, you work with them when they're injured, you work with them when they have maybe some mechanical issues, which come up a lot in soccer and other sports, right? That you can kind of be proactive with and address and deal with before they become a serious injury or issue. And so in order to do that, I think you can't just have a strength and conditioning facility or training facility. You need a training and a therapy and rehabilitation facility. You need everything. So, and I think that this is going to allow us to do even better, with the athletes that we work with, if and when they do get hurt. And as I said, maybe even identifying things that we can help them with to prevent them from getting hurt. So.
Yeah, that's a different type of relationship with athlete. On top of that, I don't know if it would make it a longer relationship, per se, a longer relationship and a different type of experience with the athlete, because not only are you training them, you're providing physiotherapy if something happens. It's a good cycle. I like that. So okay, so before we both go, where can the viewers find you again? Mention the website, Instagram page, LinkedIn, whatever you want to mention.
Sure. Yeah. So we're we're our website www.speedtraining.ca, and the best Instagram accounts would be at speedtraining.ca, and then you can also see at Soccer Fitness Inc. Soccer Fitness Inc.
Okay, cool. All right, Richard, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me and being flexible with my.
Wait, sorry, you cut out. What'd you say? You said thank you for being flexible. Sorry.
Oh, I said thank you very much for taking the time, for having me, and also for being flexible with my schedule, because
Sure. No worries.
I know we had a hard time coordinating a time, but I'm glad we did.
Yeah, me too. All right.